This is A Silent War Within, the podcast dedicated to confronting the unseen mental health battles carried by our first responder and healthcare heroes. This show is about real stories, real struggles, and real ways to survive the storm and come out stronger on the other side. For too long, stigma has kept you silent, but this is your space to bravely break that silence, share vital insights, and build a community where your well-being truly comes first, because your service deserves unwavering support.
Welcome, everybody, to A Silent War Within. I'm so happy to have you with us today. Hopefully, you're enjoying listening to our podcast. Hopefully, this is just another benchmark for you to get through. I think this is episode 44 or 45. I can't remember at this point. We've done so many, but today we've got a guest with us that I'm super excited about. I have been following Sheridan's stuff for a long time. Sheridan Ryan, how are you, sir?
Good, sir. Good, sir. I'm happy to be here.
Good, good. So I always like to start off this show just finding out a little bit about people and where you came from, what your background is, kind of your story. So give us that. Establish kind of your background and why you decided to come on the show with us.
So, I grew up in a small town in Texas, up north. Grew up, went to school there, had all my friends there. Uh, when I graduated, I was going to go to the military. Unfortunately, they found out I had asthma, so they told me I couldn't go do what I wanted to do, and I wasn't going to be a desk clerk. So I bounced and kind of fell into the fire service by accident. My grandfather was a battalion chief of Austin Fire. He was a 30-year guy. He told me, he's like, you should be a fireman. I said, well, I have asthma. I don't think that's a good idea with smoke and everything. He's like, you'll be fine. So I went to my little local volunteer fire department around the town where I grew up and walked in there and kind of dove in head first and promoted very young. I was a driver by the time I was 19. Um, I was a lieutenant by the time I was 21, and then I was a captain by the time I was 24. So I got immersed in it very quickly. Mm. Then, I traveled on, did bigger, better things, needed more money, unfortunately. So I had to leave the small town and go to the big city. Worked for a big metropolitan area up in North Texas, where I really got baptized by fire. Worked there through COVID, got my paramedic during COVID, and then was tossed into the fire. And then shortly after that, I had like we were talking before the show, I had a mental health crisis where things just built up from COVID and, you know, all the riots from Black Lives Matter and everything. And, um, I got attacked and I got stabbed in my leg and just a bunch of other things that happened that just kind of sent me over the edge. And like you, I felt alone and I needed someone to turn to, but I didn't know who to turn to because as first responders, especially men, we're supposed to be the man. We're supposed to be the guys with the answers, not the guys with the problems. And so I felt like if I brought it up, I was going to be looked at differently. Then one day I hit my peak. I started spiraling and I got the help I needed. And now I'm here, 12 years in, firefighter, paramedic, working a pretty big town. And now I'm here. So
I gotcha. So if you're comfortable, tell us about this stabbing because I'm very interested to hear this if you're willing to share.
Oh yeah, no, it's no big deal. So I got a pretty gnarly scar on my leg. I won't show it because it's fairly high up on my thigh. I don't want people to, block your
Yeah, yeah.
podcast. But I was helping somebody who was in an overdose, and we gave Narcan, and I went to go get an honor breather, and this guy woke up, and he was actually trying to stab my partner. What happened was the cops didn't search him; they just threw him in our ambulance. Said, "Hey, this guy's not breathing." And I was like, "Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair assessment."
Yep.
And my partner gave the Narcan while I was trying to get an IV, and I remember I got the IV, and I reached over to grab an honor breather, and he woke up, and he went to go. He had he didn't have a knife. He had this like those like steel spikes that people keep on their keychains for like popping windows? Well, he had
Mhm.
one of those. He grabbed that son of a gun and he reared back to hit him and he stabbed me in the process. And I looked down and this thing's in my leg and I'm like, well, that's not good. So we tussled. We tussled. He lost.
Those things dull at the end?
Well, yeah, but whenever you're swinging it at full force,
I know, that's what I was thinking. He must
I'm
have really, like,
I mean,
That's
put
it's
his
true.
like
back into it.
yeah, I mean, it's like an ice pick, you know? I mean, it's kinda it's not a knife sharp, but I mean, it's not
It's
dull
sharp enough.
dull.
Yeah, it's sharp enough to
Yeah.
pen
Dang.
skin, obviously.
Dang.
Yeah, I mean, it had the point of like a blunt tip nail, you know?
That's
Anyway, long story
crazy.
short, this thing was in my leg, so we tied him up, gave him a little more night juice, put him back in the respiratory problems, but that's fine. We fixed it. Well, you know, he bought a tube and we went to the hospital and my partner took the patient. My partner was a basic, but at this point, all hands on deck, you know. So he took the patient on a vent to the room, and I walk in and the nurse is like, "Hey, you need to go to a room." I'm like, "Well, I got to deal with my patient." She's like, "Forget the patient. You have a piece of metal in your leg," and I'm like, "Well, okay." So long story short,
You're so
I
nonchalant.
well, I've been I've been shot at multiple times. I've been stabbed. Oh well, I've been almost stabbed multiple times. Stabbed once. Only contact was one time. But, you know, it happened and you know, just a bunch of stuff happened. Just a large turn of events. Black Lives Matter was in full swing. And unfortunately where I worked, I was one of the only white guys on my crew. Um and in the entire area where I served. And they saw me as just a racist white guy and I was just trying to help them, you know, but we wore uniforms like cops. We drove ambulances that looked like not cop cars, but we ran red and blue lights. So it was just people just didn't like me. And it was very hard. It was very hard to deal with, but we can go down that rabbit hole later.
Yeah, so I guess tell us how all this catapulted you toward your own mental health, I guess is my next question in the story. How'd you get to the mental health love that you
So,
have now? Because you share some stuff about mental health as well.
so like I said, I'll tell y'all my brief story real quick so we can get it out of the way of why I had my mental health crisis and why. And we just talked about how you know I felt alone and stuff like that. So during COVID, I was in paramedic school, and pre like 2019, I was in paramedic school. Um, I was in a hybrid program where it was half online, half in person. I was with a good group of guys. We were the top of the class. I think I was number two. Me and my buddy were competing for number one spot, but he's just got a bigger brain than me. But he beat me out. But they pulled us in the classroom one day and they said, "Hey, you know, there's a pandemic in China. It's coming to America, like it or not. We already know it's coming. There's nothing we can do to stop it. We need medics on the street now. We know y'all haven't finished, you know, two or three classes, but y'all guys are graduating top of your class. And if you're willing, we'd like you to take the final and get out early." And we were like, "Well, sure, why not? You know, I'd hate to sit here in class for another 2 months." At month 10 out of 12, we took we took the final, we passed the final, took the national, passed the national, and then I was submerged in it. I mean, we had like a brief FTO program because at the time we were 50%, well, probably 75% staffed. So we had over 100 ambulances where I worked, and I think we had 60 on most of the time, 40 at night. So we were losing people left and right because people were like retiring already. And so they're like, "Hey, what's the point of staying in this during a pandemic? We're out." So they dipped. And so they're like, "Hey, you're going to be, you're going to be fast tracked in and you're going to go be a medic." And so I got submerged in it pretty much. And then after the fact, on top of everything, I got promoted to FTO within 6 months of being a medic while I was trying to figure out how to be a medic myself. And then we went even lower to 50% staffing. uh, we started getting put on fly cars instead of on ambulances, and we'd run double basic trucks. And I would, oh, hang on. There we go. Am I still there?
Yeah, you're here.
Okay, sorry, my phone did something weird. Um, we started running double BLS trucks, and I'd get in a Tahoe and I'd look at my CAD system. It's like you have 17 BLS ambulances assigned to you. And so I'd have to go through this CAD and look gunshot, stabbing, CPR in progress, motor vehicle collision with extrication in progress, overdose. And I'm having to triage these calls on this tablet and be like, "Hey, you know, 801 or 701, I'm en route to this, or 702, I'm en route to that," whatever truck I was that day. And it was just a lot. then the peak of COVID happened where hospitals started telling people, no, we're not taking you to the hospital. To the point where our medical director had a meeting with us and he said, hey, we're rolling out this program. You're on top of everything. We're going to assign you to go to these low acuity calls and you're going to make a decision on if they need an ambulance or not, or if they can stay home. And we basically had a no transport policy for people who were just running fevers and had the sniffles. On top of this, Black Lives Matter is happening. So I'm going into homes with diverse families and telling them no. And so they think at me because I'm a white man, I'm telling these people no because they're a diversity, and that wasn't the case. It was just we didn't have the resources. They just weren't there. But I got spit on, I got called names, racist, all this stuff, blah blah blah. And that's when my mental health started taking a toll. I started bringing work home with me, sorry. And I always made it a point to not bring work home with me. Like when I take that uniform off, so does everything else comes off. All worry about work, everything to the best of my ability. And it wasn't that way anymore. And I was miserable. I was miserable around my family. I was miserable around my girlfriend at the time. I just went down this rabbit hole or this deep depression, and I had no one to turn to, like we talked about earlier. And then like the peak happened, and kind of like you. So I ran in one day, not back to back, but in one day, in a 12-hour shift because we didn't do 24s because we were so busy we couldn't do 24s. We had to run a cop schedule. Two on, two off, three on, two off, three off, or whatever. I remember working. I got to work and I was actually on an ambulance this day, which was weird. And we ran a pediatric drowning that I got Rosk back on. I ran a SIDS case first. So I ran a SIDS case first, and it so happened to be two CPS workers. It was their kid, and he died in his sleep, and there was nothing I could do, and they were just besides themselves. I had to, comfort with them, pray with them, and try to get them grounded because, your entire job is taking care of children and you let your own, and that's their mindset. They didn't let their kid die. SIDS happens. It's a thing. We're still figuring out new things about it every day, but in their mind, they let their kid die. And so that was really hard. We cleared that call, ran a drowning right after that, got Ross back on that kid, but he later died of pneumonia or something in the hospital. I don't think he ever made it out of the hospital. And then after that, I ran just a bunch of other random calls. And then about 10 o'clock at night rolled around and we were supposed to get off around 11. No, not 11. It was like 1 because I remember I was 1-to-1. And we got a call. I remember I was in a very sketchy part of town. We were in a town, or we were in a part of town where they had armed security at the Walmart. So that kind of depicts where we were. And I remember I was trying to pee, and sorry, ma'am, this is going to get a little bit too much information for you, but I was trying to pee. And I remember this armed security guard came into the bathroom and he's talking to me. He's like, "Oh, you're a paramedic. Like, what's the worst thing you ever seen?" And I'm just trying to pee, man. And I don't know about you, brother, but I am not one to talk with my pecker in my hand. I don't want to have conversation. I'm trying to just relieve myself.
There should be rules. And
yeah. And he's just talking. And I'm like, man, give me a break.
yeah.
Your camera's doing something weird.
I know, I saw it.
So I'm trying to pee, and we carried this thing called a Logis, and the Logis is like a big. You remember those big, thick FirstNet phones he used to come out with? It was like a BlackBerry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was that, but you couldn't make phone calls off of it. Just had the Logis app on it, and that was how they dispatched us. Well, the thing goes off, and I'm looking, and it's a Priority 1 MVC, and where I worked, MVCs never came out as Priority 1 first. It was always Priority 3 or Priority 2, and it got upgraded to Priority 1 as more info came along. But for some reason, this one was Priority 1. And I'm like, that's weird. I wonder what this is. So I'm like, hey, dude, I got to go. I appreciate the conversation. Still didn't get to pee. And so I dipped out. And as I was walking to the truck, you see the info come in. Autoped, stage, multiple people on scene, stage, unknown where actor is, stage. And I'm like, what is going on? And it's like pediatric autoped. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. So I walk out of this Walmart and I'm walking to the ambulance. It's right across, literally parked in the fire lane, but across the way. And I just hear blood curdling screams. And I look right, and about 100 yards away from me, across the street from the Walmart parking lot, there's about 100 people and they're screaming. And they look at me and I'm looking at them and they see the ambulance behind me and they're just waving. And I'm like, oh, hell. So I get in the ambulance and I'm like, 32, we're not able to stage. They literally see us. We have to make scene. And like, 32, be advised, large crowd on scene. Sounds chaotic. I'm like, oh yeah, can confirm. So we go across the street and we get there and this guy, the dad is holding this kid and he's doubled over, just folded over, rocking back and forth. And the mom, I believe it was the mom or the aunt, or I don't know, abuela, I don't know who it was, but she was laid out on the ground and they all speak Spanish. And I speak enough Spanish to get by, but in chaotic situations when they're talking 90 miles an hour, it's hard for me to keep up. So I'm trying to, hey, give me the kid, give me the kid, give me the kid. And I'm also trying to find out if the mom was hit because I didn't know if the mom was holding his hand or what. But long story short, he was playing. It was a celebration of life for his grandma. His grandma passed away, and they were celebrating her life. And he was out front playing tag with these kids. And he ran out right about the time two dudes were drag racing down the neighborhood street, and he got smoked. And when the dude hit the kid, he was driving so fast he thought he hit a dog. So when he hits this kid, he gets out like, oh, what was that? And he's looking under his car and he turns around and there's 100 people running out of a house. So as most people would, he got scared, got in his car and gunned it. Well, the kid was still underneath the car. So he drug him about 100 feet, hit a speed bump and spit him out. How he got back to the front of the address, I'm assuming dad picked him up and ran. But when we got there, I'm trying to get this kid away from his dad and he won't let go of the kid and he's freaking out. He's in complete panic mode. Mom's passed out. There's 100 people. I'm trying to fight through crowds. I had a 17-year-old EMT student with me and my partner. And I told the student, I'm like, get back in the truck. Get back in the truck and stay back there. We'll just get stuff ready. Do whatever you need to do, but don't come out here. This is not the place. So I sent her back in there and I'm trying to get this kid. And there's a guy who speaks English enough because he's cussing me out, telling me, why aren't you doing anything? Save my nephew. Why aren't you doing anything? I'm like, sir, help me get this kid into the ambulance. Like, tell the dad to let go of the kid. Well, he put his hands on me. And from my traumatic childhood, I don't do well with people putting their hands on me. So I blacked out. All I remember was he was standing there and then he was on the ground. And from what I was told, I did a leg sweep on him and put him to the ground. And he just so happened to hit his head going down. But I remember I was like, that's it, we're done. So I walked over, I put my foot on the dad's shoulder and I pushed him over and I grabbed the kid and I'm running with him like a football. At this point, we're to the point now where no C-collar, no nothing. Like, this is a scene safety issue. We got to get out. So I got this kid. And I remember I just feel warmth. I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt. It's probably about this time of year. I'm wearing a short sleeve shirt and I feel just warmth running down my arm. And I'm like, what is going on? I get him in the ambulance and my partner, who was also a medic, was like, hey, bro, we gotta figure this out. Lock the doors though. I was like, yeah. So we locked the doors. At this point, my partner had already hit the red button on the radio. So we got help. We got battalion chiefs. We got fire trucks. We got every cop in the area coming, just cooking. And we locked the truck. And I remember assessing this kid and we could feel the ambulance rocking. People were just trying to get in. And I remember I rolled this kid over and you could see every single vertebrae in his back. You could see his entire spinal cord. And the warmth that I felt were his organs protruding out of his rectum. And so I turned to my partner and I said, hey man, listen, this kid's dead. We're not going to save this kid. There's nothing we can do. But now he's in our ambulance. We can't call it here. One, it will be a crime scene and we won't be able to move for hours. Two, I am not about to go out there and tell them that their son nephew, whoever else that kid's related to out there, cousin is dead, because then it's going to be a complete riot. So what we're going to do is we're going to work him and we're going to go to the hospital. About this time, my supervisor gets there and she's like, "Hey, what do you need?" I'm like, "I need everybody out of my way and we're leaving." And we got a police escort. I wound up calling the doc and I was like, "Listen, doc, we're coming to y'all. This kid, there's nothing we're going to do for this kid, but due to the situation, we have to, like, I'm sorry. It is what it is. This is just the better of all options that I have, unfortunately." So, and they say, "Yeah, we hear it over the radio, man. You're good. Bring him in. Everything's good." So we go to the hospital. By the time we get to the hospital, we roll him in. I mean, I did everything, EPIs, tube, everything to the best of my ability, chest compressions, all that stuff. By the time we got to the hospital, man, they were there and the doc walked in. He's like, "Time of death is this." And I walk out and everything's fuzzy. Everything's blurry. I believe this was the first time and only time I've ever had a panic attack. And I was just not well. And I'm sitting on the back of my truck and the same supervisor comes up to me and she's like, "Hey, you need to go home." And I'm like, "No, I need to finish my shift. I can't take the pay loss. Like, times are tough." She's like, "No." She's like, "Don't worry about it. We'll take care of you, but you have to take care of yourself." So I packed up my stuff. I went home. I remember getting to the station, and while I'm talking to her, like still arguing about going home, these EMTs are in the back of my truck, and they've just got 5-gallon buckets, and they're just dumping water out of the truck, and there's just blood, just copious amounts of blood just pouring out of this thing, and I'm like, "Yeah, I need to go home. I'm not well." And so I went home, and now it's about, by the time I get home, because I lived about an hour away, it's about 12 o'clock at night, 12:30. So I get home and the girlfriend I had at the time was asleep, but she fell asleep with her phone on her chest and there was a TikTok and it was playing over and over and over. This was back whenever, like when you're watching TikTok videos, now whenever you lock your phone, it doesn't continue to play. But back then, it just played. The sound bit would play over and over, and it was a scream. And I don't remember what it was, if it was a surprise birthday party or what it was, but the scream was just freaking me out because it literally kept taking me back to that
Uh-huh.
scene. And so I'm like, "Hey, she's asleep," and I'm not one for touching people's phones. I don't like people touch my phone. I don't like when I touch other people's phones, unless if it's for, like, if they're unconscious and I need to find an emergency contact or something. But it's just, out of respect. But I took her phone and I exited out of TikTok. When I exited out of TikTok, there was a message, and the message was her sending dirty pictures to another man.
Gosh, what a
And
bad timing.
yeah, all the just to put the old cherry on top. So I remember I looked at it and I looked at her and I had one or two options. I could have either rolled her out of the bed and kicked her out of my house, or I could be the better man and just leave. And it was my house. Okay. So I wrote a letter saying, "Hey, I know everything. I expect you to be out by this weekend. I'm going back to work. Like, see you later." And I called my soup and I was like, "Hey, I'm coming back to work." And she's like, "No." And I was like, "Listen, I don't think you understand. I am not well. I need to come back to work. There's some situations that happened at home. I'm not safe alone." And that was the first time I ever felt like this was it. And I remember I went back to work. I drove her around. Like, I was basically her chauffeur. That's all I did. And she was trying to dig it out of me and I just wouldn't do it. And I got home then after a couple hours and she was gone. And I remember sitting there, and now it's like 4 in the morning at this point. And I grabbed a gun out of my gun safe, and I remember it was a Glock, and I was racking it, and I was pulling it was empty, and I was pulling the trigger just to see how long I had of the squeeze before it would click. And I was like, "Man, this is it. Like, I'm done. Like, I've worked this hard. I've done so much trying to just better myself and trying to be there for others, and this is how God treats me, and just not well." And about that time, I got a phone call from a buddy of mine. Now, like I said, it's 4 in the morning. Why is he calling me? I don't answer. Calls me again. Don't answer. Calls me again. I'm like, what in the world? So I answer. I'm like, what? And he's like, hey, bro, are you good? I was like, am I good? I'm like, what do you mean I'm good? He's like, man, he's like, I woke up and I just had this weird feeling that something was wrong with you. And he's like, so just something just doesn't feel right. He's like, are you okay? And that was it. I spiraled down. I told him everything that was going on, and he wound up coming to get me. I stayed at his house, and I went and I got therapy. Both work and him both kind of, he worked at the same place where I work, so they collaborated and got me into therapy, which I was very reluctant to go to because I'm a man. I don't need therapy. Little did I know, I was very much wrong. Um, I um, I went to therapy, and like you, they dug not just that, but my childhood, my past, my insecurities, everything. They dug everything out of me, and I'm a better man because of it. So that's why I'm such an advocate for mental health and first responders. And mental health period is, I don't want anybody to ever go through or feel that alone like I felt, because that was a deep dark tunnel that I had no way out of, and I was just swimming, just gasping for air.
So
So I wanted to ask a few questions too, Kevin, if that's okay.
yeah,
So
I'm
during this
totally off
time,
script at this point because I'm super
yeah,
interested in this whole
I,
story.
I don't even think the script can do this story justice because there's a lot more to unpack here. Well, all this is happening around the same time that COVID's happening. This in your
Hmm.
life is happening. So the stress is like the high stress you can possibly imagine in your entire
Hmm.
life. And then
Hmm.
you go through this horrible call that's like more than traumatic. Traumatic's not even the right word for it. Life altering, life changing call. And
Hmm.
then you have things on the scene that are unsafe, and then you go home and you feel unsafe, and I feel like kind of in that moment, just from hearing you talk, your whole paradigm of your life from then to future kinda altered, like, that is a moment in your life that changed the rest of your life.
100%.
What
It did.
Right. And so from, like, being a firm, like, in your foundation that you feel you had, like, "I'm a man, I'm a paramedic, I'm a firefighter," whatever, and then your whole life crumbled with like, in what would you say, 4 or 5 hours?
Yeah, pretty much.
What did that feel like?
Empty. It felt empty. It felt like you're trying to pour out a water bottle, and you're just trying to get that last drop out, and that last drop was like, that was it. And that's and it felt like it felt like I was dying of thirst in a way, of just needing somebody to be there for me, but nobody was there. And I had that last drop, and that drop just came through, thankfully, because it was
Yeah,
if
your
that drop
friend.
yeah, because if that drop didn't come through, I wouldn't be here to tell this story. I firmly believe that I in my in recognition of myself now through therapy and stuff, I was 100% capable of taking my own life that night.
Right. I mean, at that point, I can imagine you felt pretty hopeless, like, there's
Oh
no
yeah,
point in continuing
oh
my
yeah,
life. I mean,
hope,
I've seen the
hope,
worst of the worst. I've
yeah,
lived through the worst of the worst, and
mm-hmm,
you talked about, everybody in the community, I mean, treats you like crap. I mean,
yep,
you're trying to help people, exactly opposite of what they think you're doing, and,
yeah,
I mean, you feel worthless, you feel like you have nothing to live for, and so you've hit that pivotal moment of, "I could commit suicide tonight. I
yep.
could end it right here."
I can end it right
Um,
now. Like I would, where it was going through my head was, you know, anything would feel better than feeling how I feel right now. I just want this pain to stop. And that's where I was with it. And in my brain at that time, that my very vulnerable brain at that moment was, suicide could make all this go away, and I won't be a problem for anybody, you know?
Yeah, we had Adam on the show. He's the guy that had the patches, and he was telling us that in his deepest, darkest moment, he would take an unloaded gun and put it to his head and pull the trigger and pull the trigger and pull the trigger. And he was like, I was so blackout drunk at some time that gun could have bullets in it. I didn't know. So I feel like
That's
what you
what
went through, that's really common.
that's what happened to one of my friends. That's another traumatic experience actually that I had was, I had a friend who did that, and he thought the gun was unloaded, and he put it to his chest, and he pulled the trigger, and he killed himself. And there was no mag in the gun, but there was a round in the chamber, and I actually responded to that call as well. And saw my best friend and my high school best friend dead on, and that was long before this ever happened, and I never got help for it. And so all this
Yep.
stuff got drug up.
Like,
And
brought to the surface.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. And through therapy and everything, and they realized, like, or I realized that I was broken for a long time before I ever realized I was broken. Like 7 years.
Yeah. And I
So,
heard you say one thing that really made me think when you were talking about your call and, the guy, like, grabbed you and you hit him or whatever happened, he went to the ground, basically. You defended yourself. And, that also tells me that if you probably would agree, you had some, like, pent up anger,
but
that
yeah,
was left
pimped up
in you.
anger, and pimped up trauma. I didn't have the best childhood, I had a very broken family. Now thankfully we're better, but me and my dad didn't have the best relationship when I was a kid. Um, he was an alcoholic. He had a lot of problems. He had a lot of demons to fight, and it took him a long time to beat those demons. And unfortunately, it cost me my childhood with him. Um, there was one time when he was drunk, he put his hands on me. I just and in that moment, like that was the trigger. And I found that out through therapy was, you know, I wasn't fighting that guy on the side of the ambulance. I was fighting my demons. I was fighting, things that had dug themselves in my brain, them buried themselves in my brain in my past. And it was very, it was a very awakening moment when I went to therapy because I now understand vastly more about my brain and my mindset.
So, for those people who might be listening to our podcast who are also dealing with, mental health and things like that, what would you say is so important in between the time you had that critical moment and the time you got therapy, like you got help? Like, what did you do to keep you from committing suicide in that time, or what kept you from committing suicide?
I surrounded myself with my friends. I realized very quickly that I wasn't okay and that it was okay to not be okay. It was okay to not be the man with the plan all the time, the man with the answers, the man who with the solutions all the time. And for once, I felt like I wasn't a patient, but I was I was so the person that needed cared for. Um, at first it was absolutely terrifying. The thought of, oh, if they think I'm mentally unfit, I could lose my job, I could
Right.
lose my house, I could lose everything that I've worked so hard for. But it didn't happen that way. It happened in a very supportive way where my friends just didn't leave my side, and thankfully, they stuck with me until I got that help, and until this day, they still check on me, and, I moved out of that area. No, I live in the hill country in Texas now over by Austin, and, they still check on me every day, and they're still in the service, so we all, talk about calls and talk about stuff, but they were just there to rope me back in and to help me get through that pinnacle moment in my life.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, we can edit this out, but Kevin, he's here. His camera's broke. Just so you
That's
know.
fine.
So he'll
That's
he'll
okay.
he'll come back in a minute. Once we get done with this part, he'll come back.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
Can
fine.
you hear me? Can you
I'm totally still here, have heard everything.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that we're um, going into this because I guess I have a few questions for you based on the story and based on kind of your mental health journey. So where did the healing start? Was it therapy? Was it something else? Where did you start to find some form of healing?
The healing started immediately when I told my friend that I wasn't okay. It just even just telling someone, "Hey, I'm not well," was a burden lifted off my shoulders because it was like it wasn't a secret anymore. I wasn't trying to hide this. I wasn't trying to hide that I drank every night just to go to sleep. I wasn't trying to hide that I would immerse myself in not so godly things like porn and other things that I had that were vices just because I needed control. Because I had no control of anything else around me. I could control to drink that beer. I could control to surf the internet and watch dirty videos. I could control, you know, suicide. I have control if I take my own life, and that's what I needed. Was I as a alpha, I say alpha male, as a man, we always are seeking for control of situations, of everything. And in that moment, in those moments leading up to this, I had no control. I was spiraling, and it was a new feeling. Just like we were talking about the helicopter stuff before this podcast. You know, the reason why I don't fly anymore is because I don't have control of that helicopter. And it's very as a man, I want to control things. And so I had no control over anything for that matter. And so those little things that I could control, I just divulged, or not divulged, but just covered myself with. And
Yeah, and then where did therapy play a part in this? So once you start getting help, what was that like? Did you do EMDR? Did you just do talk therapy? Like, how did you
so
go about going down this therapy journey?
there was a so I got basically told I needed to go to therapy by um the place I worked and a bunch of my friends. And I was like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And they're like, bro, just give it a try, just one time. And I went. And I told her the whole story like I told y'all, and she was like, "Oh my god!" And we talked about it, and she's like, "Okay." And we're about hour number 2 into this, and she's like, "Okay, well, let's switch gears. Let's talk about your childhood." And I shut down. I was like, "No, no, this has nothing to do with it." And she's like, "I think it does." And same thing that you pointed out. She's like, "Why did you black out? What trauma are you talking about when you say childhood trauma?" And I didn't want to talk about it, and I buried it. But eventually, she got to me where I opened up, and this place is for where it was 22 Kill. I don't know if they're a thing anymore, that I know of, but they used to be it was a therapy company only for veterans and first responders and active duty. That was all they did. They did wives of the people that were seeking therapy there, but they wouldn't do just the lay person, because that's not who they were designed for. And so when I finally realized that these people all either served or worked really close, like the my therapist, her husband was a cop, and so she understood certain things that I went through, and I think that process just made me realize that, like, hey, it's okay. You're safe in this, and you're safe in the confinement of these walls. Just let it go. And that's what I did. I let it go, and I told her all about my stuff, way more than I told y'all. And the process just took off and handled. And then it made me realize that I don't ever want any of my friends or anybody, and even a firefighter I don't know, or a paramedic or a cop or a military service member that I don't know, to go through the things that I went through alone. And so that's what prompted me to go get my critical incident stress management certification, and to dive into the peer support and the first responder peer support of mental health, because I just don't want people to feel the way I felt.
And Kevin, can I add one thing that I wanted to talk about? So, we talk about therapy a lot on this page, and I think that it's really important that that is where you should start. If you don't know, if you're listening to our podcast and you're like, hey, I'm resonating with this information, I'm a medic that I've seen a lot, and maybe you don't have the support system that a lot of us have, that we're very blessed to have. Um, I would strongly 100% encourage you to reach out and get help with therapy. I read this paper, this peer-reviewed article about like the psyche of the paraplegic, and how paraplegic patients turn into like really control freaks. And
Hmm.
I've taken care of them in the hospital, so I can attest to this being true. And neurologically, your brain seeks to control everything humanly possible in your environment. And like your loved ones, you get very manipulative because you can't control your body and your motor functions.
Exactly.
So, I feel like that same thing happens in like our world as healthcare providers and medics and things like that, because when you go to work, there is very little you can actually control. You can
Hmm.
control how you handle situations, you can control what's available to you and how well you do your job and like how prepared you are for situations. But you cannot control when you roll up to a scene or you go into a patient's room and they're coding, you cannot control that.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
I resonated with what you said when you said you're a little bit of a control freak because I want to make sure that everything in my environment is as controlled as it can possibly be. So when that
Mhm.
emergency happens and when something puts me off, I'm already prepared for whatever it is. So I resonated with
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
it's a different thing.
also I heard you mention something about doing ungodly things. So are you a religious guy?
I am. I'm very religious.
So talk to me a little bit about how that played into the healing journey. Was that even part of it, or was that
Well,
uh
I'll
kind
tell
of
you
in the
this.
back seat, or how did that work for you?
I'll tell you this much. During my injury, my mental health injury is what I like to call it. I went from being religious to not religious and like almost agnostic to the point where I disowned God. Because I felt like God was doing this to me. Like if God truly loved me, he wouldn't do this to me. He wouldn't put me in these situations. If God truly loved me, why or loved us, why would he put a pandemic and all these things? And my brain was just spiraling so much where the demons were getting in and they were winning because I was just in a very vulnerable state to the point where I remember one time there was a patient who had been, I don't remember if they were shot or stabbed, but they were pretty jacked up. I remember I had to put a dart in them, and like they were still very much alive, but they were very much going down the crap hole. And I remember they asked me, they're like, "Do you believe in God?" And I remember telling them, I'm like, if there was truly a God in this world, or in this, and if there was truly a God, why would he put you and me in this situation right now? And just like that, I disowned God in front of him, my partner, and everybody. And it took me a long time to get right with myself about that because I was in such a vulnerable state. I was in such a weak state that I let those demons take over and get into my brain. It Yeah, to this day I still pray about it and I say, because in the Bible it says, disown me in front of your peers, I disown you in front of the gates. And I'm very much still to this day, you know, I worry about that sometimes whenever my time comes because I did. I pray about it and I preach about now and I try to put God into situations. I pray with patience. I pray with loved ones. When I work a code and we can't get them back, I will go in there and I'll tell them like, "Hey, your loved one has passed and I'm sorry, died. And I'm sorry. And I wish there was something else we could do. Would you like me to pray with you?" And I'll sit there and I'll pray with patience in the room and gather around family. And and off topic of it, but like it's the greatest feeling in the world because it humanizes me. I'm no longer a paramedic. I'm no longer a fireman. I am somebody who I am a human being who is with this family and we are praying together and it humanizes the badge a little bit. And I know a lot of people talk about humanizing the badge with police officers, but paramedics also need humanizing because what people don't realize is we're not robots. We're not I can't just walk in and bring your loved one back to life. You can't walk in and bring their loved one back to life. Kevin, you can't, show up and bring someone's kid back to life from the dead,
That's
or
right.
fix their traumatic brain injury or whatever they have that you're flying them out for. We just can mitigate we can mitigate symptoms and mitigate certain aspects of it, but we can't perform God's miracles.
That's right.
And
That's right.
and that's something that really resonated with me when I started doing it was it humanized me and it brought me back to that level of I am no better than anybody else. I am just doing God's work or trying to at least. And but yeah, praying has really reeled me back in, and I hope that God looks down on me and sees that you know I know if you ask for forgiveness, he forgives, but there's a couple things that he doesn't forgive for, and I think I've done a couple of those things, and I hope that he sees that at that time I was in my weakest moments and I just wasn't myself, you know.
I think that's a really, really good testimony. I mean, you're using that as as a platform to say, if you've done worse, I have done it.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's a really strong testimony for people who are in the same space as you are and think that there's no hope for
No
them.
hope. Yep.
Um,
Absolutely.
and I'm kinda like you, I feel like. I feel like I had to pray for the Lord to really soften my heart over the last 5 years because I experienced extreme burnout during COVID. I didn't even wanna be a nurse anymore. I was sick and tired
That's
of it, and every patient's room I went in, I was just disgusted, I was like,
yeah.
You're coming to the hospital, you have COVID, all these people, it was a lot, and so I feel that, and every single interaction that I had with anger and malice just chipped away at my heart, and to the
Absolutely.
point where I was so dark humor, cold-hearted, like, insufferable almost to be around in my working day, that, I had to soften my heart, and God does it, and when you peel back that layer of, you know, vulnerability. When you peel that back and you start feeling things again and you start humanizing people again and you feel that for the first time and your empathy comes back, it's scary. I'll just say.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
terrifying. And you don't wanna feel emotions, so when you start feeling emotions again and actually humanizing people again, I will say that I can resonate with you on that. It's very terrifying, and it really takes a change in your mental space to be able to
Mhm.
accept the feelings that you're feeling.
Absolutely, because the emotions are being played out as not emotions, but vulnerability. You don't wanna
Right.
feel vulnerable, and when you take down those walls slowly but surely around your heart and your brain, you're you're becoming vulnerable again to getting hurt. Or, it took me a long time to date after that woman. It took me a long time. It took me a long time to get closure. But I look back on it now and I actually had conversations with her about it, and and through therapy and a bunch of other things I realized that I'm not going to say I deserved what happened to me, but I wasn't the best for her at the time. My mental health was in the crap. I was very dismissive. I didn't give her what she needed, which was emotion, care. I was bringing the job home with me. I was angry. I was bitter. I was burnt out. I was tired. Asking me to go to
Yeah.
the park, or go on a hike when I got home from work was like asking a mailman to take a walk after his shift. Like I didn't want to do it. You know what I mean? I just
Yeah.
wanted to sit at home and play video games and have that control. Because in a video
Yes.
game, if I jack up, if I mess something up, I just die and I just respawn. I had control. And it goes right back to that control thing. Like I didn't want to go outside or do anything. And all I wanted to do is drink and play video games. And it doesn't make it right for what happened to me. But at the same time, did I kind of deserve a little bit of it? Probably, you know?
You
So
didn't deserve it. I mean, I just
no,
think that that was a point in your life where everything cascaded to one critical point, and I feel like that critical point put you to where you are today, so if you wouldn't have gone through
yeah.
all of that, you might your life might be complete you might not even be here. Your
No,
life might be completely different. We might not even be having this conversation.
absolutely. Everything happens for a reason. Life is all about whys, like a split in the road. And every left or right turn you make in life leads you to a different path. And if you make the
Yeah.
wrong turn, it could put you in another, state, another country. It could be put you in the ground, like everything. And I think about this all the time in like a very deep way. I talk to my fiance about this all the time that you know, if I didn't make the left or right turns that I made, I would have never met her. And
Yeah.
if I would have married that girl who cheated on me, my life would be completely different. And I don't know what it would look like, but I know that, I would have never met the woman of my dreams and the love of my life. And, I'm forever.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we get married in 4 days this
Yeah.
Saturday.
Congratulations! Oh my
Yeah.
god!
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm
So
so
I
Yeah.
did
happy for
want to,
you.
I did want to dig into something before we kind of start to wrap up. I really wanted to dig into because a lot of your videos and a lot of the things that you post and talk about have to do with video games. So did you use this as kind of a coping mechanism to some extent? Because I feel like it is, because I'm a
Oh,
gamer too.
it's still a coping mechanism. It goes back to that control thing. If I make decisions for people every day at work that if I make the wrong decision, I could kill them or I could critically injure them or I could do I their lives may never be the same. And so when I get home and I play video games, I can shut that side of me off and I can just do whatever on the video game. And if I die, I die, I just respawn. Or if I lose, I can just restart at the checkpoint. And so yeah, it's very much a coping thing. And it's also just a social thing. I do TikTok lives and I stream games and a lot of kids who are young come in and they don't even watch me play video games. They just want to ask me what's the best course of being a fireman, or hey, this is what I'm struggling with in EMT school. Can you help me? And I'm an instructor. I teach both fire and DMS. Um, I teach firefighters how to be firefighters and paramedics how to be paramedics and EMTs how to be EMTs. So I just use that as a platform just to kind of help them. But at the same time, I'm kind of just entertaining myself playing video games. And I just kind of, it's just what I do.
So let's talk about I'll try to get back to the script as we close just a little bit. So what is your handle on TikTok? Because I'm not going to
Yeet,
butcher it.
Yeet Medic.
Yeet Medic. Is it
Yeah.
Yeet X Medic?
Yeah. Just the X is a
Okay.
space.
Okay. I got you. So Yeet Medic. So tell me about, do you try to hide what EMS is really like on your TikTok profile, or kind of tell us about how you portray yourself versus the real life job for those people who might not be in healthcare?
So, how I am in my TikTok videos is how I am in person. I'm a very outgoing, funny guy. I don't try to hide anything. I don't try to hide who I work for. I am more cautious about it because I used to be TikTok famous, like more like this is a drop in the bucket compared to what I used to be. At one point in my old TikTok, I had a video with over 6 million views and I had over 800,000 people following me and I would do Firehouse lives and stuff like that. And but I did a lot of dark humor with that one and instead of what I do now. And what happened was I was up for promotion for that FTO spot and I was afraid they were going to find it. So I deleted my TikTok because I didn't have like terrible things on there, but I definitely, talked crap about the place that I worked and management and, the bull crap that we were dealing with at the time. And I didn't want them to find it. So I deleted it. Probably the worst decision I ever did. I probably could be a TikTok millionaire by now, but I deleted it. And when I restarted on TikTok, I told myself that I was going to be more educational, maybe do a couple satires here or there, but mostly it was going to be to help people better themselves and to better myself through bettering other people. Now, how Yeet Medic came about, that's what people called me. Because I was the treat 'em and eat 'em guy. That's what they said, like treat 'em and eat 'em. My actual name before that was Little Poke because I always said Little Poke whenever I stuck people. And so they're like, yo, it's Little Poke. And I'm like, what's up? But someone made a joke and not me, but someone else got offended because I guess they used little poke as like a sexual term and someone got sad or mad and HR got involved and little poke wasn't on the table no more. So then
Oh,
Oh,
they
little
changed
poke.
it to, I know, right? Lil Poke, LIL Poke. It was great. But then Yeet Medic came about because they're like, yeah, man, you're the Yeet Medic. You treat them and yeet them. I'm like, yeah. Because I didn't spend any time on scene. We'd get them in the truck and I'd be like, hey, I'm good. They're like, you don't need knife. I'm like, I got it all. Let's just go. And they're just like, "Yeah, you just treat them and eat them." And so that's how Yeet Medic came about, and it just stuck.
so after your therapy, after you're starting to heal yourself, what was something that you used to do or still do that really helps refill your own cup?
I go hunting a lot. I go hunting. I'm a big outdoors guy now. Now, I used to not wanna go outside because I was in that depressive hole, but now I spend majority of my time outside or playing video games, one of the 2. I just spent 3 days putting in my yard with my fiancée, um, and so we have dogs, and it's just family time and just being around my loved ones. I know as time goes on, we're not getting any younger, and I live a little bit away from my family now. I don't live near any of my family now. We're all scattered across Texas, but I spend a lot of my time with my family and my in-laws and everybody, and I just like to surround myself with people and just hang out, and I think that really helps ground me because of
Are
that whole
you
fear of feeling alone.
Are you like the person, like, I know you talk about, like, with your family, you're with your family, but are you like me, like, on my off days, I don't wanna see or interact with another human being. I'll go outside, that's fine, but I wanna be alone. Like, I don't wanna go and, like, go to a party or
Yeah, I'm
anything
not like
like
that
that.
either.
Oh, I'm polar
Yeah.
opposite. I could have a full-on conversation with my tree outside.
True. Me
Yeah,
too.
same. Yeah.
I
People
love
that are
getting
not
around.
in healthcare don't realize that. Like, we don't
I
wanna come
love
home and go to a party, like, that's not it.
I'm not a partier anymore just because I don't like crowds, just because of past trauma. I don't do well with crowds, especially in a crowded house, but I will go hang out with my friends. I'll go hang out with my wife, fiance, wife, whatever. I mean, it doesn't matter. We're
In
almost
4
there. So
days, when this
yeah,
comes
4 days.
out, she
Might
will
as
be your
well.
wife.
Yeah, might as well just call her my wife. Her family, and I like to immerse myself with people because once again it makes me feel human again, and I can have just those human conversations. Now, what I don't like is that everybody and their grandmother always asks me about my job and what's the worst thing you've seen
I
and all
hate that.
this stuff. My favorite response to that is, "What's the worst thing you see?" I just say my paycheck, and I just move on.
That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
you're right. You're right. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
So tell us all the shameless plugs. Tell us where we can find you at so that
So
everybody listening can know.
really, the only thing I have is TikTok. It's capital YEET, lowercase x, capital MEDIC. Um, I have a Facebook. It's called Lone Star Leatherheads. It's a training cadre that we're trying to build up, but it's kind of stalled right now just because wedding, new house, yard, dogs, everything is
Sure,
just in the
sure.
way.
Normal things.
But I just like TikTok platform better because it's just easier. It's easier to navigate.
Absolutely.
It's just easier for me to do. But really that's it. I don't give out my personal Facebook obviously because I don't want 9,000 people trying to add me as a friend because I just don't. Um but yeah, that's really it. That's where you can find me is on TikTok.
Dude, what an awesome story that you have. I think that you should really consider like writing all this down. There's
I
been
Yeah.
thought of
numerous
I
people that have
started it.
published books, and it's been awesome to have those real authors on our show. And when I say real authors, like it's not somebody that's writing just a random story, it is their personal story. I just interviewed Kevin Hazard, who wrote A Thousand Naked Strangers, which was kind of his journey through EMS, and then
Oh, I
he
just
did
read that book.
he did American Sirens, which if you haven't read that, that's an amazing book about
Yeah.
EMS's history. And then the one that just come out was Nobody's Coming, and it was an awesome view of the Ebola outbreak in 2014 and an air company that went in and kind of cowboys and got these Ebola doctors that were infected with Ebola and brought them home. So it's been awesome to have him, Salty Paramedic, a few others
Mhm.
on the show that have written books, and it has been so cool to get to read their actual story. I think that's what is going to eventually not necessarily solve, but help so many get through their own mental health struggles is to hear stories
Abs-
like yours and to
Absolutely.
hear stories like these other authors where you're reading somebody's genuine journey. It's not a story they made up. So I appreciate you. I appreciate all you're doing. I know we got way off script, and
So
quite
off. We
quite
didn't even do the
frankly,
script.
no, we
We
didn't. Quite
we can always
frankly,
have a part 2.
absolutely, that you're an awesome guest, dude. But this has been great, and I liked this better than anything I could have wrote down. So thank you for your honesty and just being vulnerable with us. That's so cool. I love that
Yeah.
when a guest can come on and tell their actual story and feel comfortable enough to do that. So thank you for that.
Oh, no problem. Yeah, I mean, if you don't feel comfortable in your own skin, I hid myself for so long, and I'm so tired of hiding that I don't change for anybody. I never have, or well, I used to, but I won't ever again. I never will because it's just not. life's too short. Life's too short to worry about what other people think about you. And if someone thinks on, this, that they watch this, that I'm a, you know, I don't know how to put this in any light way, but like a wimp, I guess, because of what I went through and me getting help and stuff like that, and me being
Mm-mm.
vulnerable with y'all. If one person thinks that, I guarantee you 10 other people are like, wow, this dude really helped me and I didn't know how to navigate this. And this dude has really shined light on me. And,
Absolutely.
and,
Exactly.
and and so I don't care about the naysayers and the haters. No matter what you do, you could walk on water and someone hate on it. You know what I mean? We
That's
watched it.
right.
We read it in the Bible. So
That's right.
um, I'm here for it. And yeah, if y'all want a part two, we could honestly do a part two when I'm not going through a wedding.
Yeah.
But
Wedding,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
but
Absolutely.
I'm about it.
He's speaking
So
straight fire right now. He's like
I
preaching.
know. He's so good.
Holy.
So to all the responders that might be struggling, what's your message to them? If they had to hear one thing in the show, what is it?
You're not alone. I always put that I don't know what you're going through, but I've been through a lot myself. I'm not going to say similar things because we all go through so much different stuff and we handle things differently. My brain processes things vastly different
Mm-hmm.
than Kevin's brain or your
Mm-hmm.
brain. You know what I mean? And so I'm not going
Absolutely.
to put myself in your situation, but I know you're not alone. And I know that there is help. I teach classes about mental health in the fire service. Actually,
Yeah.
every during the fire academy, one of the last classes we do is one of my mental health classes. And I put my phone number on there for the guys that I know, and I say, I don't care if it's 4 a.m, call me if you
Call
need
me.
something.
Yep.
Because I'd rather be at your side during your worst time than having to carry your casket to your
Mm-hmm.
final resting place.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes for a lot of the viewers. If you are going through something, there are so many options for you. There's the Code Green campaign that is just for EMS. There's Brotherhood for First Responders. That's a first responder one. There's no one fights alone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Stuff like there's so many avenues, and you just have to take that step. I know it's scary. I know it's the unknown is so terrifying, and you don't know what's going to happen when you take that step of saying you're not okay. But I guarantee you, it's better than the lesser the latter, which is taking your own life, because everybody, no matter who you are, has somebody who loves you, whether it's your parents, whether it's your fiance, whether it's your kids, it might be your dog, but somebody loves you. And you just need to get that help, if not for yourself, but for the people who care about you, because you leaving this world, it doesn't just affect you, it affects everybody around you, including even first responders who have to walk in and pronounce you deceased because you blew your brains out on the side of a night table in your bed. Like
Yeah.
it's some of the suicides I ran, like those are some of the hardest calls. And I think about, I look around and it's like pictures of their families or pictures of them, and like and I always think to myself, like, what was life like with them when they're happy? Like, what got them to this point? And then I had my travesty, and I
Yeah.
was like, I can see. I was blind, but now I see.
Yeah.
And
Um,
so,
such a powerful testimony. I mean, my God.
Yes, man.
Um,
You have
that's
really
crazy.
come far. Yeah, yeah. And just
I
to close
appreciate
out,
it.
you guys know that you can always find us on all the platforms, whether it be Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. We stream on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. We really are so appreciative of everyone's support. We've done well. We've got great numbers. So I'm really thankful for what the Lord's blessed us with. And this is not just a podcast for us. This is a type of ministry for us. This is something that we are passionate about. I'm so excited to have a team like I do. I have Angel doing the social media. She's fantastic and reaching out to guests. She is a godsend, to be honest. She has made my mental health so much better because it is kind of a full-time job on top of a full-time job to run social media as well as
For sure.
do a podcast and do all the things that we do. Um, and of course, Kim being in the background doing some research on our guests. We love that. MaKayla and I are kind of the voices and the hosts of A Silent War Within. So thank you guys for supporting us. And Sheridan, thank you again for being with us. And as always, we say it every show, we mean it. Be safe, take care of your mind, and we will talk soon. And MaKayla's making fun of me.
No, I'm not. I was just going to do it in my Delilah voice, but you took it from me, so I can't do it.
Do it. I can always edit it. Do it.
Be safe, take care of your mind, and we will talk soon.
That's a 1-900 voice. That's not a Delilah voice.
Yeah, that sounds like someone's about to tell me my car is extended warranty.
Yeah. I just paid $1.99 a minute to hear that.
I'm dead. And for the people who are not watching, where you can see our facial expressions, well, you can't see Kevin now because his camera.
No, my camera broke.
But if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube, you could see me nodding incessantly the whole time. So you should do that in my facial expression.
All right. Well, Sheridan, thank you again for joining us. We're going to end it here. Guys, come back every Friday for a new episode. We're excited for this one, and we're excited for next week's. You don't want to miss it. Again, like MaKayla said in her Delilah voice, be safe, take care of your mind, and we'll talk soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
You've been listening to A Silent War Within. If this episode resonated, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with someone who needs to hear it. Remember, you're not alone, and your well-being matters. It's time to end this silent war.